What is up, my friends? So let's talk about The Conjuring now. Whenever that Conjuring comes about, we always have to take it back. We have to think about where it all started. And this is the movie that is going to be the final one. So I thought we should recap where we started and where we're headed. Now, I'm not talking about going from The Conjuring 1 when it first released. I'm talking about let's put all the spin offs and everything in the timeline. So I think the first movie that's going to start it off, and I think it is very much so adequate that it's the first movie that actually starts the timeline, is Annabelle Creation. Annabelle was the first shot in The Conjuring, if you remember the first one. So I thought it was very much so interesting that they would have this one be the first one in the timeline. Now, Annabelle Creation takes place in different times. It actually takes place in 1943. Then it takes place in 1952, 1955, and ultimately goes back to the first Annabelle film to 1967 by the end of it. And so this film sees the creation of Annabelle and how this malignant spirit came to be. So that was the first film in the timeline if you go by dates. Now the post-credit scene in this actually is a teaser for the nun. We do see the nun appear in the movie as well as they talk about it with one of the sisters there. Now the nun takes place in 1952 and also in 1971. And what we pretty much see is the beginning of this demon Valak here, as well as taking a new sister and tormenting her as well. Now, I was very much so the one to say in a theory video I did a couple of years ago that this sister was actually related to Lorraine in some way, and that's actually because it is played by Vera Farmiga's sister, Taisa. I hope I'm saying that right. And so that's the next film in the timeline. Then we actually go to Annabelle, the first film, where it takes place in 1967. And this one actually is how Annabelle tormented a couple as well. We actually then go to the next Annabelle film called Annabelle Comes Home. This one takes place in multiple timelines as well. It takes place in 1968, 1969. And what we see here is pretty much this is where we see what happens when the Warrens have Annabelle in their possession, and we see Annabelle wreak havoc in their home. And it was one of my favorite Annabelle films, better than the first one indeed, but it is definitely not up to par with the other Conjuring films. It's more of a summer fun type movie as well, and a lot of people compared it to The Babysitter's Club, which I agree. Definitely just something fun to watch and not really take it that seriously, I feel, compared to the other films. Still a great film. Then comes, of course, the first film in the whole franchise, and that's The Conjuring, which takes place in 1968, 1971. And this one pretty much is one of their first introductions to Annabelle, as well as some other stuff we definitely see later on in the Conjuring universe. And it is also based on a real life case as well. So there's that. Next film in the timeline is The Curse of La Llorona. Now, this one was pretty much one that still, I feel, gets very much so overlooked, I feel, in the Conjuring aspect of it. One of the only connecting pieces we have is the father in here, and then we just talk about Annabelle for a bit. But other than that, there isn't much more connecting tissue, so that's why I feel like this one gets overlooked. But this one comes right after The Conjuring, and it takes place in 1973. Then we go into The Conjuring 2, which I thought was a very good sequel to The Conjuring, although it didn't live up to it in my honest opinion. This one actually is a film that takes place in 1976, 1977, and I think it is one of the more famous cases that the Warrens ever took on. This was based on a haunting in the UK, and it is actually called the Enfield Hauntings. You can look these up as well, and I feel like doing videos on each of these actual cases now. Maybe next week we can discuss all of them because they're pretty interesting as well to look into what happened beyond the movie as well, because there are more details that the movie doesn't really brush over. So I'll definitely think about doing those videos. If y'all want to see those videos, give this video a thumbs up. And now we are in our next film, which is The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This one actually takes place in 1981, and it is actually based on the exorcism of 11-year-old David Gladstone, and is going to also be talking, I feel, primarily about the case of the killing of the landlord Alan Bono. Now, this one is going to be very interesting because it's based on the real life trial of Arne Cheyenne Johnson, hope I'm pronouncing that right, who on November 24th, 1981 was convicted of manslaughter, and he was pleading not guilty due to the reason of demonic possession, which is something we're going to see the Warrens try to tackle, and they actually did tackle this case in real life. So I'm going to be talking about this case as well. I want to do a whole video on it because it is one of the most interesting cases, I think, because it's the first time, I think, in a judicial court system that somebody tried to plead not guilty due to demonic possession, and I'm very much so excited to see how the film is going to handle that. So this comes out tomorrow or tonight on HBO Max and in theaters. Where are you going to be watching it? Let me know in the comments below. I'm definitely going to be checking out on HBO Max. I did actually go see A Quiet Place in theaters, but I don't know about this Conjuring. I'm just not like confident in it because James Wan isn't back directing. Although we do have the same writers from the previous Conjuring films, I think there's something about James Wan's directing that you don't see in the other Conjuring franchises movies, and I'm just not like there to go see this in theaters. I'm just gonna check it out on HBO Max. If I truly enjoy it, maybe I'll go check it out in theaters, but this one I'm just gonna sit out and wait. So yeah, that's pretty much the timeline for these films. Now this is the last in the Conjuring series, like Conjuring 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if they're done with spin-offs just yet. I do believe they want to go ahead and bring out a couple other spin-offs. Annabelle Comes Home showed us that they have a couple of monsters that I feel like they were like testing out to see how people reacted to them or how they looked on the big screen before they jumped the gun on them. There was a lot of talk about the Crooked Man movie coming out, which is still rumored to be coming out, but I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out. It looks like James Wan is really letting go of the reins, because I was very much so surprised he didn't come back to do this final Conjuring. He pretty much has a lot on his plate now with DC and all the other stuff he's doing, so definitely don't see him coming back to the Conjuring universe really quick. So it should be interesting who picks up the reins from here with Warner Brothers, because I doubt that they let this franchise like end here. There's so much money to be made, and they've made a ton of money from these films, so I don't see it going away anytime soon. So what are your thoughts on The Conjuring? Which one's your favorite? I think my favorite definitely has to be the first Conjuring and Annabelle Creation. I think those two are the best movies in this whole series. As I said, guilty pleasures are Annabelle Comes Home, just because it was more of a haunted house type feel than anything, but movie wise it wasn't all that. So I'm excited to see The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It tomorrow. I will be doing videos on the real life cases of both The Conjuring 1, 2, and 3. So tune into those, because I think I'll start a series with that as well. So I'm very excited to see how this is going to play out. Anyways, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers. I know we took a longer break than I expected, and I kept pausing between videos. As always, I'll see all of you next time. I will have a video on The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, ending tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that. As always, stay safe, stay positive.